Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the big show. My name is Mickey, and this is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for Middle Americans, where all Middle Americans are welcome. It doesn't matter where you've been, doesn't matter where you go. It just matters that you're here right now. We don't care about your demographic here. We don't play politics with identity. We just want everybody to be on the same team, and it's Middle America's team. You know, there's a huge disparity in what a middle American means. And I don't believe that there should be any disparities at all. I think that we're all basically on the same page about everything. And that's what this show's about, is about talking about it. So the last time that I was with you, I have to apologize. It was 2 nights ago. Last night, I went, how do I put this politely? I went day drinking with some friends of mine and got a little carried away, and it was inappropriate for me to take to the air last night. So if I did do a show, I don't remember it. I think I was in bed by 9. I don't know. If I wasn't in bed by 9, I should have been in bed by 9. So, anyway, hey, welcome to the big show. Sorry I wasn't here last night. Carolyn Greg's Ledger on top with the gold medal again. Carolyn Greg's Ledger, that is outstanding. Congratulations. Susie, silver medal Goble, back in the silver medal position. And Carolyn, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm telling you, I hurt myself yesterday doing the whole thing, but I do have my USA hat on today. I did this. I got dressed like this morning because I thought that I was going to get my new Ford F-150 hybrid truck today, and just didn't happen. So it's going to happen tomorrow morning, bright and early. But I did see the truck. They just couldn't get it through the processing of in processing it to the dealership done today. So I got some pictures, and I'll tell everybody about that experience tomorrow. So, hey, Katie, how you doing? Welcome back, and Christopher Cap. I'm so glad. Oh, by the way, Katie, congratulations! You're the bronze medal winner tonight for the Comment Olympics. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. And Chris, glad to have you here. And Carolyn Greg's Ledger, once again, congratulations on the gold medal for the thing. All right, so today we're going to talk about energy. And energy is very, very interesting because energy is something that the United States of America used to have lots of. We used to have lots and lots and lots of energy. And now it seems like we have less and less energy. It seems like there's California brownouts, there's Texas brownouts. I've seen some gasoline stations that are now out of business that I never expected to go out of business. Uh, there are there's a whole bunch of things in energy that we have to deal with because, as I like to tell everybody, do you know how much energy your life takes to run? You know, we're not out like Ma and Pa Kettle on a farm up in the hollers of Kentucky or out in the Dust Bowl of Oklahoma where you have some candles and some firewood. Our life, our modern day life, revolves around energy. And the amount of energy that it takes for you to live your daily life, when you wake up in the morning and you turn on a pot of coffee, you don't have to go burn wood to do that. It's plugged into a wall, and the little meter on the side of your house starts spinning. And at the end of every month, they send you a bill for that, which you happily pay in order to keep the lights on, in order to keep the air conditioning running, in order to keep the coffee pot going. But the microwaves, the lights, everything that's in your life takes energy. The clothes that you wear right now were made in a modern day factory that took up an absolute ton of energy. You know what they used to do is they used to go out they used to plant cotton, then they'd go out and they would get the cotton off of the plants, and then they put it in a loom, and it was foot powered, and then they would take the cotton and they would process it on the loom, and then they would sew their own clothing. And that was all human powered. It was human energy that did that. And that's when horses came about, right? We used horses to transport things from to and fro. But in the 1900s, right before the 1900s, in the late 1800s, they invented this thing called the car and the internal combustion engine. And then they started working on batteries. Do you know that the first car ever made was a steam powered car? I'm pretty sure it was steam powered. And then the next car that was made was actually an electrical car. It was electric. Do you know why we use gas-powered cars now? Does anybody know why we use this isn't a test, right? Because you can take gasoline and it's a much more condensed form of energy than an electrical battery or than steam powered. And it's very, very important that everybody understands that we used to have ships that used to roam the ocean that used to burn tons and tons and tons upon tons and tons and tons of coal. The entire bottom of a ship would be full of coal, and men would shovel the coal and throw it in a furnace. And that furnace was lit up, and that caused steam, and the steam would turn the propeller on the ships. But that was very, very nasty, and it was very, very bad because it was raw coal being burned and going into the atmosphere. So they had to come up with new ways of doing it so that we wouldn't pollute the planet. And that's why, we're using gas energy and hydroelectric energy and nuclear energy for the majority of our energy needs because that is the most condensed portions of fuel that we can get. And then you put it in a little electrician transmission site across the wires and into your house. And that's the most effective way to do that, to get the number of kilowatts to all of the people. But if you look around your neighborhood and just think about the amount of energy that is surging through the veins of our country, it's absolutely astonishing that 330 million people can not only have a place to go and stay, but also have air conditioning, and then double that because now you have to put that in the workplace. And for everybody that doesn't work outside, which is the majority of people in the United States of America, there are a bunch of people that work outside. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the number of people that work inside for a living. You've got to take all that comfort and convenience and you got to put it inside those workplaces too. And none of that is even talking about transportation. The way that I can basically explain this is if you take the world and you divide it, energy needs in half, half of the need goes for living people, and the other half goes for stuff and the construction of stuff. So 50% of the energy needs of the world go to living and transportation, and the other half goes to stuff like creating watches or drinks or microphones or great little clapper deals, pencils, hats, glasses. Energy has to create all of that stuff because we're not making stuff by hand anymore. We're not using horsepower and we're not using people power. Everything takes energy. You want to know what happened to the world? What happened to the world is more people were born. And that's the crazy thing about it, is because we got to get energy for all of the people. And how do you do it? Well, every country's doing it a little bit differently. But the simple fact of the matter is that if you're a people, don't you deserve to have the availability of electricity and power? Everybody should be able to have access to that. I'm gonna go on a side note here. Carolyn says, hot damn, woo! Coal being shoveled in ye old locomotives as well back then. Yes, it was. It was. Thank you very much, Carolyn. That is very, very true. And right now, the train industry, which transports millions and millions and millions and millions upon billions of pounds of stuff every single year, actually works on diesel electric motors. And they have these great big huge diesel engines that spin an electric motor, because the electric torque curve, a torque curve for an electric motor is not a curve at all. It's instant power all the way, instant power, instant torque all the way across, because electrons don't give a damn. Gas has to combust and then it has to build power over time and get the pistons going. But inside of an electrical field, the copper inside of an electrical field and inside the magnets just goes bam, it's on or it's off. So, actually, how about that? So, diesel electric is what our trains are running on. But you know what energy can't do? You know what energy can't do? Energy can't change its state. Energy can't really change because the amount of energy that you get out of a gallon of gas can only go so far, can only make so much energy. And you know what a battery can do? A battery can hold less energy per pound than gas. And that's why we use petroleum. And that's why we use petroleum in our car. And that's why Teslas can only go 250 miles, 300 miles before they've got to stop and get supercharged. Because that battery's like filling up a gas tank. And the technology's not there for batteries yet. We've been working on battery technology for 20, 30 years. But that's some hard stuff. And just think about all of the people that have been working on this that are not going to have a payoff in the end. Because not all batteries are created equal. Everybody wants the latest and greatest battery technology from the latest and greatest company. That's why nobody wants to put solar on their roof, because the solar panels that you put on your roof today are going to be outdated in about 5 years. So everybody's waiting on, hey, man, we're going to do the next one. You remember when iPhones and how fast iPhones became prolific? Well, that's eventually going to happen in the solar industry. It has to. Because everybody's going to want the newest, latest, greatest thing. And at the advancement of the solar technology, that's coming, but it's not here yet. And as a matter of fact, the amount of solar and wind that we have in the country is not enough to keep up. We can't keep up with the amount of solar energy that we need in this country. Because you remember that split I was talking about, 50% for homes and transportation and 50% because we make stuff? Well, we don't have the alternative stuff to go and make all of the stuff that we need to make without massive, massive, massive amounts of electricity. And where in the hell is all that coming from? This is a question for all the green people. Where do you think all of that's going to come from? It's a huge problem because we don't have that many windmills. We don't have that many batteries. We don't have that many solar panels. The entire world can make solar panels for the next 5 years, and we're still not going to have enough solar panels. You require energy. All of you green people that are out there, you can't just make that stuff up. I'm green. I'm buying my third hybrid vehicle tomorrow. When I say hybrid, that means I have some miles. Every time that I go get to a gas station, I have a battery charge off of the engine that gets me 0 emissions for X number of miles in my truck per fill up. I'm driving a hybrid. So the first hybrid that Tanya and I got was a Camry. Then the second one was a 4Runner. What's the Toyota? Toyota 4Runner? I think that's it, right? Now this is going to be my third hybrid. My motorcycle also gets 45 miles to the gallon at 80 miles an hour. So that's pretty good. If I go 75, it goes up from there, right? If I would be patient enough to actually drive it slow enough, I could probably get 50 miles a gallon on my Goldwing, but I don't do that. So, all right. So, yeah. So, Don says, why did we stop hydrogen and cell car power plants and nuclear? All right. So, Don, I actually know the answer to this. So, I know the answer to this. All right. So what got me talking about this is I was out front of my house watering the lawn because my grass is dying because it's been so hot in Arkansas lately. No rain, just been no rain. And it's been hot. It's been an Arkansas summer. So anyway, I was out front. My neighbor came over. We started talking about energy. We started talking about diesel. We started talking about gas, solar, hydroelectric. When I was little, I used to read Popular Science, and I used to love the whole idea about putting solar panels on my house that I would do electrolysis and break down water into hydrogen, right? H2, 2 parts hydrogen, O, 1 part oxygen. So you'd separate those two. And then you take the hydrogen and you put it in a car, and that the hydrogen goes through a fuel cell. And when it goes through a fuel cell, it gets recombined with an oxygen molecule. And the waste product is electricity and H2O, which is water. So you take water, you break it apart, you put it back together, you get some energy out of it, and you do that. Here's the problem, Don. Hydrogen, although we do have a lot of hydrogen, it's the most common element in the universe. Although we have it, it's very, very hard to break apart. And then the fuel cells, in order to put it back together again, are extremely expensive. Very, 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 very expensive. As a matter of fact, just to break down the water is extremely expensive. Although you can do it in small quantities, in order to do it on the large mass scale that we need, it's going to be virtually impossible to do that. However, Toyota is supposed to be working on a hydrogen engine for their cars right now, and it's supposed to be out in 2 years. And it's supposed to be affordable. So we are waiting for the hydrogen revolution. But that is the perfect solution. And this is what I told Jeff. I said, Jeff, the perfect solution is a hydrogen fuel cell, because hydrogen is the most common element in the world. And think about all the oceans that we have. All we have to do is break down water, and next thing you know, hey, here we go. We got hydrogen, all the hydrogen we want. A RAV4, I think. Yeah, it was before the RAV4, Debbie. Yeah, it was before the RAV4. It's a Toyota 4Runner. That's not it. I'll think of it in a minute. Right on, brother. Hey, if we put research into it, we can figure out. So we have the car manufacturers have absolutely put a shit ton of money into hydrogen research and hydrogen fuel cells. They are not. And colleges and universities have been doing that research for the last 20 years. I've been tracking it. It's been absolutely amazing, but the breakthroughs are not reducing the cost. The physics, right? So the physics is still the physics. And this is what I was talking to Jeff about. The physics is still the physics. He says, how come we don't have better batteries? Well, because the physics of a battery is still shitty. And you can't change the elements of the way that, like, say, an alkaline battery works. So a small alkaline battery that charges this right here is a very, very small cell, but the physical properties of that are basically an acid that is being released by electronically through lead. And then it collects that, the little bit of lead in there and the little bit of battery. That's why batteries leaks, is because it's got acid in there. But the technology is the exact same in a AA battery as it is for your car, which is the same for a deep cycle battery. The technology is just pure crap. And when they figured out how to seal the battery, that was a huge technological advantage. However, it still doesn't replace the amount of the size that you need in order to take electrons and jam it in there, because the physical properties of a battery are the same. With that being said, that's when lithium came in. And lithium was to batteries what LED lighting was to lighting. So remember how we had incandescent bulbs, and then we had fluorescent bulbs, and now we have LED bulbs? Well, that's kind of like the change. So there's going to be 3 phases in battery technology. Right now, we're in the second phase. The first phase is alkaline batteries. And that's when acid and lead plates, and what happens is when you combine those two, it produces electrons, right? So that's how you can start your battery and use your trolling motor. The second phase of that is going to be the lithium battery phase, which is going to be able to use lithium in order to store all of this energy in there. And then you can charge it up and down, and it holds more of the electrons at one time. But the third phase is what they're going to call solid state batteries. And everybody's been working on solid state batteries. And the reason we're working on solid state batteries is because it's getting rid of all of the liquid that is in batteries, and it's making them safer. And lithium has very, very big limitations. Like, lithium can't get wet, because if lithium gets wet, it causes a fire. We're not even supposed to have lithium on airplanes. It's so dangerous. You're not supposed to ship lithium on airplanes. And everybody has a cell phone with a lithium battery in it, which is crazy, isn't it? So lithium's not even supposed to be on airplanes, yet we all carry our telephones on airplanes. And if lithium ever catches on fire, it's almost impossible to put out. That's why runaway lithium batteries are the most dangerous thing that you could put on an airplane. With that being said, the next thing is going to be solid state batteries. And there's a bunch of companies that are working on that all across the world. And, that's going to be the next thing. But that's going to be dense. But we still have to have the energy to put into the batteries. We still have to have the energy to put into the batteries. And that's what we're facing right now. So I don't think that the people that are talking about this green technology understand exactly how big the problem is. So when Joe Biden goes and cuts off our oil supply and says, well, everybody just needs to buy an electric car, I don't think that Joe understands what makes shit run. I put a post out there the other day about having getting a car or something like that. And somebody put on there, says, I have an electric car. And one of my friends put on there, don't you mean a coal burning car? It's true, because it's not an electric car. It doesn't make electricity. What it does is it stores electricity that's made somewhere else. That's the problem with all these systems. You have to get energy from somewhere in order to put into a battery. Right now, the majority of the world is getting their energy out of the ground in the form of coal and oil. And 50% of that coal and oil is not even going to people. It's going into manufacturing, and it's going into transportation like the big boats, and it's going into trains, and it's going into all of these systems that we have developed in order to live in the modern day world. And guess what happened? The people of China and the people of India want into our middle class lives. Historically, they have had very, very poor populations in China and in India and in Pakistan and in all of the African countries. But those countries now all have seen what Europe has done. They've seen what Australia has done. They've seen what the United States has done in Canada. And they want some of that good living. They want some of that good middle American life. And that's what the problem is. Now everybody wants what we have, and there's not enough energy to give it to them. So they said, we'll pay a little bit more to get the energy from Saudi Arabia. We'll pay a little bit more to get the oil and gas from the OPEC nations. We'll pay a little bit more across on the oil markets, and that's what raises the prices. But when our government says that we're not going to actively pursue the oil and gas business because we're now going to be the first nation into green energy, they don't understand the uphill climb. We can't do that. If everybody got rid of their gas-powered car tomorrow and everybody bought an electric car tomorrow, we wouldn't have enough electric cars. Electric cars are like 1% of the cars on the road. What are we going to do with the other 99%? Even if we all ordered electric cars tomorrow, we're not going to have them for the next 20 years. No matter what we do. So. And then Darla Joe. Hey, Darla Joe, Stuart Bennett, how you doing? If we put research in there, we can figure it out because China would lose money. That's why we can't improve these technologies. I don't think so. I don't think Joe cares, says Darla Joe. And don't forget that almost all products are made with oil. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying about the oil, right? So we take up 50% of the oil supply, roughly, right? It's between 50 and 60. We take up 50% of the oil supply for gas and cars, and then the other goes into manufacturing. And that's just the way that it is. So I hope that everybody realizes that going green is a great idea. I would love it if the world could go green and we didn't have to dig up the oil and we didn't have to squeeze the shale and that we didn't have to do this. But natural gas is clean burning. And the other thing about it is that's why we have catalytic converters on our cars and unleaded gasoline. Because It's not putting out the amount of CO2 as it used to put out. It's a much cleaner energy. That's why we have coal plants with CO2 scrubbers in the smokestacks. And that's why all of that is managed by the EPA. And that's why the clean air standards in the United States of America allows me to go to New York City and actually see New York City. If you took off in New York City 30 years ago, you would take off into a layer of smog. And it didn't cover part of it, covered all of New York and half of New Jersey and all of upstate. But guess what? We cleaned it up. Do you want to know how clean it is right now? You can fly into New York on any day and it'll be a blue sky over New York City. How is that possible if we're screwing up the atmosphere so much? Because our CO2 output in the United States of America is leveled off. Even though we're getting bigger, although we're having more manufacturing, although we've had GDP growth, our CO2 is leveled off. Now, China's CO2 is skyrocketing. India's CO2 is skyrocketing. We can't do anything about them. But we also can't fix the planet without them. If you think the planet is broken. I personally don't think the planet is broken. I think that we have 8 billion people on the planet that are all using energy in order to stay warm, in order to get cool in the wintertime, in order to get to work, in order to harvest our fields. We got to figure out a way to get stuff around the world for 8 billion people. And we also have to feed that many people. That means we need the farm equipment, which uses gas, because farm equipment can't use battery technology because it's too heavy, too unwieldy, and you can't run out. There's not enough solar powers on top of a tractor. You can't do that. You can't use solar power to push a super tanker, a super freighter across the ocean. You can't use solar power in an airplane. It doesn't matter what you do. You can't do it. You can do it with one person, but you're never going to be able to get 300 people on an airplane that's powered by batteries. Not going to happen. Not in our lifetime. So we need the oil and gas industry. And right now, the people in the White House are blowing it up. And it's nothing that we're doing wrong. We're not doing anything wrong. That's the big thing. We're not doing anything wrong by living our lives the way that we were living our lives. Try to put LED lights in your house. Try to buy a hybrid or an electric. Try to conserve energy whenever you can. We're middle Americans. We got this. So, all right. So anyway, that's going to be the show for tonight. Hey, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate your comments. You guys all make the show a lot better. My name is Mickey. This is Mickey in the Middle. 9 p.m. Central. Most nights. Monday through Friday. Thank you very much for all of your comments. I really do appreciate it. And remember, wait a minute. Like, share, hit the notification bell, and I will see you tomorrow night. So without further ado, good night, small one. I love you. See ya.